we want to get out of the Eurozone. Did you notice what happened yesterday in Austria? There was again the vote on the presidential elections. Who were the two candidates? One was pro-Europe and the other one was against Europe. What is going to happen in France? You have Jean-Marie Le Pen that is against Europe and the others that are pro-Europe. What is happening in Germany? The same. So you have this eternal dynamic here that there is a view of Europe as a union, European Union. So there is a kind of a government of Europe, the European Commission, the Parliament, the Council. There is a government of Europe. Like in the United States, there is the federal state, the White House. And there is a view that pushes for a Europe of nations. The building block of Europe are the states, and we recognize a general identity of being Europeans, but the main decision should be taken by the member states, not by the Union. This dialogue is going on since quite some time, and now it's very deep, because if you read the press in the world, there is an issue here that we don't know if Europe will exist in 5-6 years' time. For example, Grillo and Salvini wants to exit the Eurozone, meaning that tomorrow you go back to the lira. So it's kind of tricky. The Schengen area, meaning that you can travel in Europe, if you pass to a Europe of countries, to go in UK you will not need a visa. I was traveling to Paris last week and they asked me the identity card, even if I was traveling from Venice to Paris. Paris is part of Schengen, I should not show an identity card. But now they ask you, randomly they ask you. That's the Europe of the state, the Europe of the Union. Now, let's not do politics about migration, common monetary policy, fiscal policy. Let's leave aside. But there is a Europe of knowledge, right? Europe of knowledge means who governs knowledge in Europe? Universities, research, innovation, startup. Take Horizon 2020, the European program for R&D. That's why you have this nice advertisement on the next program. It's 80 billion euros on research, education, innovation. Some people say there must be the free circulation of knowledge, as much as the free circulation of people, the free circulation of services, goods, capitals, and so on. The fifth, freedom. So somebody saying students can move from here to there, should have a European degree. Others are saying states do have their priorities in research and innovation and education. So the degree in Trento is Italian, the degree in Stockholm is Swedish. And the strategies where we invest the money are decided by national priorities. For example, Italy wants to invest on 5G, somebody else wants to invest on IoT, somebody wants to invest on energy transition. States, or smart cities, states do decide their own priorities. So there are two views now. Now we take to the extreme, you'll see that. But in the way we fund the next program for research and innovation in 2000, and the EU Horizon 2027, in 2020 we have to do the 7 years, there will be a big debate whether knowledge in Europe should be a matter of the member states or a matter of the union. Is it clear? So, if we invest on a topic, IoT, is a decision of the union or is it a decision of Poland? If we invest in energy transition or photovoltaic, is it a decision of the union or is it a decision of Portugal? Who decides? That's why we created this scenario today. I invite the critical minds to explain the scenario. These are two big, important, very big characters of history that we took back in the present time. Just one notice. As regards the book chapters, tonight we will publish the titles of the book chapters. Then we are forming all the groups with the executive group. The chapters will be evaluated on quality. no checkboxes, okay? And we will publish the free riding policy, read it, because there will be a lot of free riders, instructions for the groups on how to work together, as a suggestions, how the review will be done of the chapter. We'll publish everything, but focus on quality. When you find your group, start to get organized, because your problem will be that somebody will do the job and somebody will not do the job. Okay? Good. Any question?
A glance at our protagonists for today. First slide, please. Okay, we have from one side Napoleon Bonaparte, not only a great commander, he also introduced the civil code and abolished privileges of feuds. So we can sum up his views in a phrase which is from local laws to the civil code. You already have an idea of how this relates to the battle. From the other side, Clemens von Metternich, a great diplomat, one of the biggest opponents for Napoleon. We can sum up his diplomacy in a motto, which is internal order and external power of a nation. So, you get it. From one side, from local laws to the civil code, union. From the other side, internal order, external power. Now, as you heard, we have 4 freedoms of movement in Europe: goods, people, services, and capital.
Sorry, just to go back to Napoleon and Metternich, just be clear that they were the kind of foundation of what this European debate in the 19th century. We're talking about 1800, more or less. Napoleon was for a united Europe, good or bad, and Metternich for a Europe of states. Each state has its own power and control. These two people were doing a big fight in between the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century.
Okay, well, Europe is grounded in these 4 freedoms that, by the way, grant access to the common market. So these are not only ideologies. And today, a descendant of Napoleon Bonaparte is a member of the European Council. And mindful of his ancestor efforts in introducing the civil code, he formulates a proposal to the European Parliament to introduce a 5th freedom, freedom of knowledge. What does it mean? It means knowledge becomes a shared resource which is manipulated and hopefully encouraged by Europe. Someone, anyway, does not agree, and we have, apart from the European Parliament, which represents citizens, and the European Council, which represents governments, we have a 3rd institution, which is the European Commission, whose president is a descendant of Metternich. So, now we have 2 possible outcomes related to the views of Napoleon and Metternich. For example, equality of degrees for Napoleon, but on the other side, any country can manage its own academia. More mobility, but more competition, or mobility policy decided by states. Common rules for everybody, every country is free to legislate. So you see, there's a freedom there, but there's some freedom each country has to give up to let Europe gain freedom of knowledge. Portability of funds, meaning that if you win a prize for a project in Italy, you can work in Germany, or portability decided case by case. In general, community projects, investments from Europe, so in a top-down way, or development plan discussed by states that are free to collaborate in a bottom-up manner.
To make an example, where do you think the Erasmus program stands? With Napoleon or with Metternich? Erasmus. Napoleon. Okay? And where do you think that the MIUR, the Ministry of Innovation and Research in Italy, that finances national projects, stands with Napoleon or with Metternich? Metternich. So you can look at every program as a funding program. For example, your degree is managed by your degree in the university is managed by Metternich or Napoleon? Your degree is managed by Metternich or Napoleon? Who decided your degree? Is Metternich or Napoleon? Metternich is nationalism. The European Institute of Technology that wants to give double degrees and joint degrees is more Napoleon or Metternich? Napoleon or Metternich? Napoleon. All the policies you have about your student life is decided either by Metternich or Napoleon, and they disagree.
Okay, so the question, yes, the question that two teams will try to answer is, what benefits and drawbacks come with freedom of knowledge? And the question you class as the European Parliament have to answer is, should Europe be a knowledge union, in which case you prefer Napoleon's view, or should Europe be a knowledge federation, in which case you vote for Metternich? You are the European Parliament, as I said, and the choice is yours as always, and enjoy the battle. Thank you.
Just one aspect to consider, like every battle, there is a fantasy element, there is a technological element. This is about technology policy, innovation policy, research policy, and there is a social, United Kingdom, right? On the other hand, if you compress knowledge in a country, then you will not have the opportunity to exploit your idea in a place where you have more opportunities. So there is a trade-off there that we're still debating. I tell you that this debate is ongoing, and we will see in 2020 exactly this topic. The fifth freedom is not an element that we invented. If you Google it, fifth freedom is a keyword done by the European Union saying students and knowledge should circulate freely. Just give you less information. News of yesterday, because we don't have the press, the UK government, because of the Brexit, decided to still recognize to students from foreign countries in the UK the right to come to study, because they understand that very nice.
One second, please.
Use the other mic.
Okay, I think it's way better. Okay. Sorry. Okay, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So as you saw already in the video, it was very brief, but it highlights most of the ideas that we're going to share with you. As the professor already introduced the scenario, and our folks did, we are going to talk about the benefits about Metternich approach, Metternich system. We are not going to say that it's better, bad, or anything like that. So we are just going to highlight the main aspects of what Metternich approach is. So as we said before, the system that we are comparing with tend to be unbalanced, and it's just an introduction. Why are we saying that it's unbalanced? We're going to get into the details about the systems being unbalanced. Okay, so as the picture illustrates, sometimes happens that not all the resources are equivalent to everyone. So we need to make sure that the resources are, or the demands to the members of the community are in function to what anyone can contribute with. So this picture pretty much illustrates that being equal is not sometimes what in reality happens. Can we go ahead? And what is the result of this problem in load balancing? What we share, what we have, and in some ways centralizing the power in some certain, some very specific entities. The complication will be that stronger entities might become even stronger. So that is what we try to avoid with this Metternich's approach. And we bring to you Metternich approach. We were planning on doing a small introduction here. Our teammates already did, but just an item to highlight important about Metternich. Back in his days, when he went into the system and proposed his ideas, it is very important to highlight that before his system was introduced to Europe itself, there was a lot of revolution, a lot of conflicts, and due to that fact, Metternich system was implemented. And what happened when this system came into play? We had 100 years, almost 100 years of stability. What does that mean? We did not have a lot of wars. So we went from a system in which every now and then we were having revolutions, conflicts between nations and such. And with this one, we were able to move into a more stable or steady community. Mentioned before, the three items that we are going to highlight on is that it's balanced, it is orders, and it will allow opportunities to everyone. It's not like we are close. It will take the best from the best, and we're going to grow on it. Again, this is just a map. This is just a highlight or a very high overview of what we will be talking about, and we're going to get into the details now.
Okay, let's think about what would happen if there is only one entity that decides for everyone. There is the Europe an idea to found, this entity to decide to found or not. What happens is if this entity decides to found, every state in Europe has to found the idea. But what happens if a state cannot afford the expenses? Maybe it has not the stuff, cannot do it like happened in before. With our approach, there is the people decide, or someone in the government decides what to found, but every state autonomously decides whether he can or cannot afford, if he wants to do it. So every state can contribute to help the state that's the idea and to grow together. So you can decide whether or not to participate.
Okay. And what my teammate has already said, we are going to link it with the fact that it is order. Why do we think it's order? Imagine a scenario in which you are given full freedom to do what you want. That might lead to not a very organized project or not a very organized result. Let's say that what our system allows us to do is, and it was mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, is a bottom-up. So let's compare it a bit with what the top-down traditional structure is. From top-down, you get orders, if we can call it that way, from the very high hierarchical levels. From there, you only need to oblige. You are not given the will to think about yourself, to think for yourself, and in order to innovate. So in some way, we are allowing this innovation to grow up, because each one will be free to contribute what it thinks the best. And continuous improvement. This is an item that we touched slightly during the last lecture. By doing this, we allow negotiation. It's not like from the top bottom, you say, you need to do this, and you go ahead and do it. There's no chance that you can say, okay, if I want to do this, if I want to do that. No, I'm telling you that you need to do this. But with our approach from the bottom up, it happens the other way around. You have the chance to negotiate, to craft, to mold what you are going to do. So that gives a little bit more of organization and promotes innovation as a whole.
unlike the United States that created their history together, in Europe every state has its own identity and way to approach the problems. So we cannot just decide something and apply it to every state. In our idea, we can decide something, okay, but we have to modify, to adapt the idea to every state, because what works for one cannot work for another for many reasons, for the money or political reasons. So we need to fit each state's needs to help them.
Yeah, so to elaborate a bit more on this, you can go back, please. To elaborate a bit more on this concept about being generic or specific, it's just the same. Pretty much all the key items were already covered during the introductions, but about being specific versus generic, as we said, let's say that the whole union, the leadership, or the top of the hierarchical structure says, I want to work on project A. All the other at the bottom or along the organization will need to follow. So what happens if we move this scenario into a solution? Every one of us it's different, that is a fact. Same happens with countries and with the states and such. So everyone will have different necessities, different requirements, and a generic solution might not fit to what we need to achieve. So if we have one big solution, one big rules, they won't be specific to what we're trying to achieve. In our scenario, of course, we have like a single entity that orders that it's able to manage what we're trying to achieve, but as an individuals in the bottom part, we are able to identify what are our needs and work based on that. Now, jumping into the area of lab of knowledge, or what do we think our approach is lab of knowledge? It's in the introduction we talk about, each entity will have the option to work by itself. Let's put an example. Italy is very good at making engines for cars. So they work best for that. They are the best in doing so. So they are going to focus on that. And then we have another country, let's say Portugal, as I mentioned that we were talking before. They are good at wireless communications. So instead of being big and each one of them trying to compete, Italy working with wireless, which is the best thing for Portugal, or Portugal trying to carry engines, everyone will focus on what they do best. What will this allow? Each one of them will be specialized in their knowledge, and as a whole, as an entity, they will grow up together. That doesn't mean that we're going to reduce bigness, in other words. I hope this has been clear.
Okay, we have limited resources, so what happens if there are many startups? Many ideas can have money to grow, but many other ideas, maybe more creative one, more powerful one, can be hidden by the sea of other ideas. So, given that we have limited resources, we want to decide what ideas to put more effort on, based on the potential. We want to decide to make, let's say, to focus the ideas that have more potential, and ask the states to fund or not the ideas, like we said before. And this way, we won't waste money, and everyone can grow, but with no control, there's only mass. So we give you, let's say, all the.
Okay, and to elaborate, I want to get a bit more on this. Is imagine at the beginning we were saying that it was closed and we cannot share code if we are talking about technology and such. That everyone's know what its neighbor is doing. We're going to reach a point in which everyone will know what all the others know, and at some point that is not very efficient. Why? As we were talking about the ideas during the presentation build-up process, we came up with an example which I think is very accurate. We have the Formula 1 competition. Imagine that each one of the teams.
That we believe is because we are not working together. The United States are a single nation, yes, federal nation, but they have one technology policy. India, the same. We are many, different, and each has their own way of thinking. And we believe that with the system we have now, it's working against us. We want our differences, our cultural way of thinking, of tackling problems, to be our strength. And it cannot be our strength if we don't communicate with each other. Thank you very much. I'll leave you with a short video.
Which is the bigger number, 5 or 1?
5.
5. 1. One army, a real army, united behind one leader with one purpose.
Adam Smith needs revision. What are you talking about?
If we all go for the blonde,
We block each other.
not a single one of us is going to get her. So then we go for our friends. But they will all give us the cold shoulder because nobody likes to be second choice. But what if no one goes for the blonde? We don't get in each other's way. And we don't insult the other girls. It's the only way we win.
Serious stuff. It's about how Europe is today, how your future as researchers or students or entrepreneurs will be. And this is a dynamic that does exist. To go back to this group, Napoleon views, in a sense they tell you, first, it's important, let's compete. The best one will take the prize. You don't like to see somebody that is not as good as you, take your group work. You do the job and the others take your grade. If I do the job, I want my grade. Let's compete. Let's see who is the best, who commits the most. There is an issue of some portability. When you switch from an operator to the other of the telephone, can you take your number? You know who did the law that you can take your number? The union. Because to increase competition, they said, if you switch from win to team, you can take your number. Now, put it on research. If you win a European grant, the union wants you to take your grant, the money, not to give it to Trento University, to keep it in your pocket, and if you want, you move to Cambridge. European Research Council. Portability of grants. So if you win a grant, you take it with yourself. It's yours. It's no longer about the DC. It's your grant. Standardization. They're telling you, well, it's useless here to have a number of, you know that the United States was lagging behind in telecommunications because they could not agree on the standard. While Europe was the first comer with the GSM standard. Said, let's find a deal here. Let's do the same. Then we create a common ground to do R&D rather than wasting our time in trying to connect to each other. And another, I think, important element here is no redundancy. It's useless that in Trento we have to reinvent the competence. If Stockholm is good at the competence, maybe we focus on ours and they focus on theirs. So if we have a common market of knowledge, we can avoid duplications. These are the good news. As I said, good news there. Bad news are the following. If you're good at doing a project and getting money, a grant, a research grant, or funding, if you're good, you get the money, and you have a team of people. Who talks to the one providing you the money? The one that got the money, the good one. But if you talk to the one providing you the money, then you become even better in taking the money. And if you get better at taking the money, the others become worse in taking the money. What happens is a vicious circle that you notice in Europe, this network of R&D poles. It happens that those that are good take even more. Those that are not so good are lagging behind. So what you notice, if you look at the R&D gaps in Europe, some countries like Sweden, UK, Germany are running fast. Others like Southern Italy, Portugal, Eastern Europe, Baltic countries are lagging behind. And the more the time passes, the more they lag behind. Why? Because if I lose the grip on the funding body, I become no good in making proposals. If you have access to the professor, you do a better exam. If you don't have access, you do not a good exam. That's the vicious circle that somehow knowledge could concentrate around some poles of excellence. As much as there, on the other side, we saw that this could, where you put the line of autonomy is always difficult. So pros and cons. One last message I want to give you. The biggest funds in Europe for research, education, and innovation are Horizon 2020, European Napoleon, and the structural funds, Metternich. Structural funds are managed by the states. So Italy manages part of structural funds. And there is a structural fund agenda, it's called ERDF, where you decide what are your priorities. It's a lot of money, a lot. We're talking about something like 100 billion euros. Horizon 2020 say, we manage. Both programs are European, but one goes with Napoleon, the other goes with Metternich. And they are there if you write. And they are trying to find synergies there. It's very difficult to say they live together. The view of Metternich and the view of Napoleon. If you draft, put on Google, Horizon 2020, framework program, and structural funds, you will find Napoleon and Metternich. And these are the money that fund your research, your education, your innovation. These are the money there. Most of the money are in these two programs. Nowhere else. Very good. So I suggest you do your break. Start, please, thinking about some questions. Some countries become more powerful, could lead to conflicts, economic conflicts, or even worse.
Because the competition is very high, so maybe one country will win a competition, the other will lose that competition, and so the one that loses the competition
will perish.
Yes, and
Can you
this,
make an example of a country that you think in Europe, in terms of knowledge, is stronger than another that is weak?
Germany, for example.
Germany is strong, and as weak one.
Greece.
Greece.
Portugal.
Portugal. Another strong one.
France. England.
Hey guys, don't speak.
No.
England. Sweden.
Sweden.
If you look at the R&D intensity of Europe, EU R&D intensity is called, you will see the ones that are strong, the ones that are weak.
Yeah.
And I tell you that in general, Nordic, Central Europeans are strong, and UK, and Southwest, Portugal and Spain are weak, and Southeast is very weak. So all the Balkanic area is very weak. So you have this differentiation there.
And I think that if Germany is very strong at the moment, also if we are a federal state, it doesn't change too much.
This is why if you do a master in another country, you tend to go maybe to Sweden, even if it's cold, and not to Portugal if it's warm. I'm talking about the master, the PhD, not the Erasmus. The Erasmus is sun-driven. Okay, other questions?
I have a question.
Are you member of the team?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions?
You're not in a position.
Address it to one of the group.
Yeah, so this is for United Europe. So how do we prevent centralization or abuse of power? So some countries have more influence on running the Europe, so they will maybe be biased in assigning some sexy research topics to their preferred countries. So is there a way inbuilt how to prevent this?
Very good question. I mean, this is it's happening. Yeah. If you are Latvia, which is a very small country, you don't have much power in raising your voice in the council and saying we want this and that. So the big ones will push to have in Horizon 2020 the priorities that are good for them. So Germany will push for transportation because they have Lufthansa. And Stockholm, they push for telecommunication because they have Ericsson, Sweden. While Latvia can push for nothing because they're too small. And they're not equipped to manage 28 member states. 28. So this is the capacity to negotiate.
Maybe at the beginning of the race, losing a couple of meters. At the end, we're going to catch up, and we're going to be.
But sorry, as
We are miles behind right now, though. We are already miles behind. And if you want to go even slower, we are already outclassed by other nations. So we cannot afford to be even slower because there is no more space at the top. Already researchers are moving outside because in Europe it's too hard to do research. So if we don't work together and create specialized clusters, we simply lose to the other nations.
Let's go again concrete. Education is still it's called prerogative of member states. So it's not EU. So it's your Metternich approach. Education is managed by Italy, Germany, and Sweden. It's Metternich. Now, would you say that Italian universities are incrementally progressing, or southern Italy, with respect to 10 years ago, or they're like even more behind? I mean, this policy of giving a bit to everybody, is it paying off in terms of quality of education in Italy?
But also, I mean, how can we force...
Let them answer because it's a good question. Do you have a proof that Italy is improving in education? With a national policy on university, we have a national policy. Could you assess that Italy is doing better? That South Italy is improving towards Northern Italy? And Italy as a whole towards Germany? Are we improving? In a structured way. You said incremental improvements. Are they?
Organize it, structure.
Are they?
So the question is, how can we measure that we are actually getting better?
You said we are getting better incrementally within the state. And since education is a matter of states, Metternich approach, do you have a proof that we have been getting better in the last 10 years? Education is managed by the state. Are we getting better?
Like nowadays, it's the same thing.
That's the point. You're for the status quo. That's the point.
So at this point, this moment in time, we are not following Metternich's approach. Actually, if we frame it, we are following your approach. So it's like we don't know how to measure that at this point because we are following that approach. So with our approach, as I mentioned before, it is ordered and we have a structure. Through this, that to say a word about how specific are we measuring our progress, our knowledge, at this point might be vague. But it's because we are already in a system that we don't have a protocol to follow, we don't have an order to follow.
Watch out, as I told you, sorry, as it should be there, education is not managed by the union. Huh? Education is managed by Italy. So it's not that you don't have control over education. Metternich has full control over Austrian education, and Renzi, till yesterday, had full control over Italian education, and Merkel over German education. So you have full control, from primary school to higher education. Here is managed by the Italian state, not by the EU education. I think that
if we,
That's why, sorry, if you are an EIT student, when you come here, we have to give you an Italian degree, not the European.
I think that if we will do it their approach, there will be some elite like we were said, and Italy, it's not good now in education. It will be worse than now because every research will go to this elite, and now we have not so much funds and so much resources. We will have less resources. Well, we will have some elites, and we have proof that having elites works. Because I think if you are, let me explain. United States, for example, if I live in Wyoming, do you think I have big university in Wyoming? I think 90% of the population in Wyoming is tornadoes. So you go to California, you go to New York, and you study to become the best if you deserve it. So, we can see from data that they are miles ahead of us.
Sorry, but if we make you the same question that the teacher was asking us, if we think like Europe, how we can measure if we are doing good, based on how the Germany is doing, how Austria is doing, how France is doing?
The matter is a bit unfair to give us the fault of the whole economy just because we have control over education, which requires many years to see,
Sorry
to let us see
an
effects.
argument there, because you have to conclude.
Yeah, yeah.
As much as there are worldwide rankings of universities, publications, you have European rankings saying how many publications are Europeans of 28 member states, how many on the top 10 universities of the world, how many are European. For example, now we have a problem. The only two universities in the top ranking are from the UK. And since the UK is going out of Europe, we don't have any more European top universities. But you can have a European ranking system. We do have. Anyhow, look, thank you. I think you have very much ground here to find a reconciliation in your reports, because each of you needs to balance the other. And this is the current debate on the next funding program. And I'm curious to see in 2020 how the Europe will structure the funding programs, because they will exactly have the battle between Napoleon and Metternich already now. Now, for your knowledge, in the Commission and the Council and the Parliament is happening the mid-term review. They're trying to fix what will happen in 2020 in terms of we spend the budgets on the states or on the union. Now, that's the debate now. Maybe in your report, look at what's happening today. Thank you very much, and I'll see you